Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, YouTube. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening on this Thursday morning? We had a great live for you guys today. As you can see in my title, is why is Chicago the most segregated city in the United States, in America? But before I get started, I'm changing um, my intro song for today. I think, like I said, man, we're in a time of good versus evil. And I think all of us need some kind of positive spiritual in our life. So let's get started, then we get on with the video. What's up, Lonnie? What's up, YouTube? What's up, YouTube? What's going on? What's going on? Yeah, I got a good lie today, y'all. It's Why is Chicago one of the most segregated cities in the United States? Well, there's a lot of reasons why that is, and I'm bringing to you guys how it all developed. Now, as we all know, that back in the early 19th century, you had a lot of black people who migrated from the South to the North for a better life, for jobs and all that. So, and to get away from the Jim Crow era, Jim Crow states. So you had a lot of, black folks who migrated to the North. You had some that came to Chicago. In Chicago, is certain places where blacks were allowed to live. Chicago was always segregated, and You know, blacks was only allowed to move to the Bronzeville neighborhood on the south side of Chicago. So a lot of things transpired in that time. You know, we had, you know, the 1919 riot. They called that the Red Summer because in 1919 you had a whole lot of massacres all through the United States. You had one in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You had one, I think, about a year later in New Orleans. So during that time, there was a lot of race riots that was going on. But I'm gonna play this video of the story they're talking about the Chicago riot, and we're gonna, you know, talk about it and commentate on what they were saying. And I can give you my opinion of what I know about this. So let's listen.
What's going on, everybody? And welcome to episode 19 of the Black Massacre series, where today I will be discussing the Chicago race riot of 1919. The Chicago race riot of 1919 was a violent racial conflict between white Americans and black Americans that began on the south side of Chicago, Illinois on July 27th and ended on August 3rd, 1919. During the riot, 38 people died, 23 black and 15 white. Over the week, injuries attributed to the episodic confrontation stood at 537, 2/3 black and 1/3 white. And between 1,000 and 2,000 residents, most of them black, lost their homes. Due to its sustained violence and widespread economic impact, it is considered the worst of the scores of riots and civil disturbances across the United States during the Red Summer of 1919. So named because of its racial and labor violence. It was also one of the worst riots in the history of Illinois. In early 1919, the socio-political atmosphere of Chicago around its rapidly growing black community was one of ethnic tension caused by long-standing racism, competition among new groups, and economic slump, and the social changes engendered by World War I. With the Great Migration, thousands of African Americans from the American South had settled next to neighborhoods of European immigrants on Chicago's South Side, near jobs in the stockyards, meatpacking plants, and industry.
Now the area they're talking about is the South Side, like the almost like the low end, around like 35th. If anybody familiar with Chicago, about 35th, somewhere around there, 35th, 39th. That's the Bronzeville area. So back in 1919, that's where a lot of blacks lived because it was close to jobs and all of that. So, and across the highway or across the road, you had like a Irish community, and that community is called Bridgeport. That's where all the white Irish people, settlers, lived. So you on one side you had the Irish settlers, then on the other side, the east side of the highway, you have black people. So what's dividing them two communities is a highway. So that's how that is set up. That's how it was then.
Meanwhile, the long-established Irish fiercely defended their neighborhoods and political power against all newcomers. Post-World War I racism and social tensions built up in the competitive labor and housing markets. Overcrowding and increased black resistance against racism especially by war veterans, contributed to the racial tension, as well as white ethnic gangs unrestrained by police. The turmoil came to a boil during a summer heat wave with the murder of the 17-year-old Eugene Williams, a black teenager who had inadvertently drifted into a white swimming area at an informally segregated beach near 29th Street. A group of black youth were diving from a 14-foot by 9-foot raft that they had constructed. When the raft drifted into the white beach area, one white beachgoer was indignant, began hurling rocks at the young men, striking Williams, and caused the teen to drown. The official coroner's report cited that Williams drowned because the stone throwing had kept him from coming to shore. When black beachgoers complained that whites attacked them, violence expanded into neighborhoods in which white mobs attacked innocent black residents. Tensions between groups arose in a melee, which became days of unrest. Black neighbors near white areas were attacked, white gangs went into black neighborhoods, and black workers going to and from work were attacked. Meanwhile, some black civilians organized to resist and protect each other, and some whites sought to lend aid to black civilians. But the Chicago Police Department often turned a blind eye, or worse. Chicago Mayor William Hale Thompson had a game of brinksmanship with Illinois Governor Frank Loden, which may have exacerbated the riot since Thompson refused to ask Loudon to send in the Illinois Army National Guard for 4 days, although Loudon had called up the guardsmen organized in Chicago's armories and ready to intervene. After the riots, Loudon convened the Chicago Commission on Race Relations, a nonpartisan interracial committee to investigate the causes and to propose solutions to racial tensions. Their conclusions were published in 1922 by the University of Chicago Press as The Negro in Chicago, a study of race relations and a race riot. U.S. President Woodrow Wilson and the U.S. Congress attempted to promote legislation and organizations to decrease racial discord in America. Governor Loudon took several actions at Thompson's request to quell the riot and promote greater harmony in its aftermath. Sections of Chicago industry were shut down for several days during and after the riots to avoid interaction among the opposing groups. Thompson drew on his association with the riots to influence later political elections. One of the most lasting effects may have been decisions in both white and black communities to seek greater racial separation. Unlike southern cities at the time, Chicago did not segregate most public accommodations. According to Walter Francis White of the NAACP, pre-1950 Chicago had a good reputation for equitable treatment of blacks. However, in the early 20th century, Chicago beaches were unofficially racially segregated. Blacks had a long history in Chicago, with the city sending Illinois' first black representative, John W.E. Thomas, to the state legislature in 1876. While blacks in 1900 were only about 1% of the total population of a city that had seen large European immigration, the black population expanded dramatically in the early years of the 20th century. By 19
Now, see, while black people was migrating to the north, to Chicago, you also had Irish settlers, or they call them today immigrants, coming to Chicago too. So you had like a competition between the white immigrants and the black people who migrated to the north. So that brought a lot of racial tension, because remember, racial tension was high in Chicago after World War I. So you had a lot of tension going on, because some of the jobs that the black men had, or the black people had, the white settlers wanted.
1910, thousands of blacks were moving from the South to Chicago as a major destination in the Great Migration to industrial cities in the Northeast and Midwest, fleeing lynching, segregation, and disenfranchisement in the Deep South. The revived Ku Klux Klan in the South committed 64 lynchings in 1918 and 83 in 1919, with industrial jobs in the stockyards and meatpacking industry opening as European immigration was cut off by World War I. From 1916 to 1919, the black population in Chicago increased by 148%, from 44,000 to 109,000.
See, a lot of black people started migrating to the north, especially Chicago. So the population almost tripled from when they first started migrating Chicago.
The growing black population settling in the South Side bordered a neighborhood of Irish Americans existing since the mid 19th century, and the two groups competed for low end jobs and housing. Alongside earlier waves of immigrants from Southern and Eastern Europe, ethnic groups were possessive of their neighborhoods, which their young men often patrolled against outsiders. Because of agricultural problems, Southern whites also migrated to the city, about 20,000 by this period. The rapid influx of migrants caused overcrowding from a lack of low-cost housing. In 1917, 2 summers before the Chicago riot, large and deadly race riots broke out in the expanding cities of East St. Louis, Illinois, and Houston, Texas, influencing the violent events of Red Summer across the nation and in Chicago. The post-war period also found tensions rising in numerous rapid growing cities where people from different cultures jostled against each other and competed for space. In 1917, the privately run Chicago Real Estate Board established a policy of block by block segregation. New arrivals in the Great Migration generally settled in older black neighborhoods on the South Side. By 1920, the area held 85% of Chicago's blacks, middle, upper class, and poor. In the post-war period, military veterans of all groups were looking to re-enter the workforce despite the post-war economic slump. Some whites resented black veterans. At the same time, black veterans exhibited greater militancy and pride serving to protect their country in units such as the Illinois 8th Infantry. They expected to be treated as full citizens after fighting for the nation. Meanwhile, younger black men rejected the deference and passivity traditional in the South and promoted armed self-defense for control of their neighborhoods. In Chicago, the Irish-dominated social and athletic clubs were closely tied to the political structure of the city, some acting as enforcers for politicians, as the first major group of the 19th century European immigrants to settle in the city. The Irish had established formal and informal political strength. The Irish had long patrolled their neighborhood boundaries against all other ethnic groups, especially black. And as ethnic white gangs began attacking people in black neighborhoods, the police, overwhelmingly white and increasingly Irish American, seemed little inclined to stop them. An example of ethnic territoriality was the Bridgeport community area, an Irish neighborhood just west of the Black Belt. There, the Hamburg Athletic Club, whose members included a 17-year-old Richard J. Daley, the future mayor of Chicago, contributed to gang violence in the area.
That Richard J. Daley, he was made when I was born, and there was always people saying allegedly that he was tied with the mob. That's the word that was going around in the black neighborhood, because Mayor Daley, he lived in Bridgeport. He lived in Bridgeport. And back then, that's where a lot of racial tension was at. Because I can remember back in the 70s, early 80s, if you went through Bridgeport or whatever on public transportation or whatever, even in the car, you had some type of resistance from the white people there. You hear them calling you the N word, or if you're walking or whatever it is, chase you. And this was in the 70s, early 80s that we're experiencing this. So just imagine that this shit was going on for decades. Until today, Chicago is the most segregated city in the United States. Well, it's the most segregated city that I've been to. So we the only city I know. On one side of the city you have blacks. On another side of the city you have Latinos. On another side of the city you have a mixture of people, foreigners, people with money, whatever on the north side. Then the east side, you have a mixture. That's how it is today. So Chicago is still the most segregated city in the United States. And this is telling you why. This is telling you why.
Meanwhile, newspapers carried sensational accounts of black American crime. Long-standing racial tensions between whites and blacks exploded in 5 days of violence that started on July 27, 1919. On that hot summer day, on an officially segregated Chicago beach, a white man threw stones at Eugene Williams when he crossed the unmarked and unofficial color line between the white and black sections of the 29th Street beach. Williams drowned. Tensions escalated when a white police officer prevented a black police officer from arresting the white man responsible for Williams' death, but arrested a black man instead. Objections by black observers were met with violence by whites. Observe the theater.
See, now, like when I was growing up, the beaches that we went to where we felt safe, I'm talking about black people, was like the beaches on the south side, like the 79th Street beach, over there by the museum, 58th Street, down to maybe even 31st Street. Now we got looked at funny and we wasn't really allowed, or we got the impression that we wasn't allowed at the beaches on the north side. This is the 70s and the 80s. So it's been like that for a minute.
Mobs erupted swiftly. At one point, a white mob threatened Providence Hospital, many of whose patients were black. The police successfully held them off. There were also attempts by the ethnic Irish gangs to incite Southern and Eastern European immigrant communities to violence against blacks, though they had no history of such hostility. In one instance, many members of the Irish Reagan's cults donned blackface and set fire to Lithuanian and Polish homes in the back of the yards in an attempt to incite this community to join them against blacks. Contrary to the violence, some cooperation also occurred, with some whites seeking to help save Eugene Williams, reporting other whites to the police, denouncing the violence and bringing food to black communities. The Chicago riot lasted almost a week, ending only after the government of Illinois deployed nearly 6,000 Illinois Army National Guard troops around the Black Belt to prevent further white attacks. The majority of the rioting, murder, and arson committed by white ethnic groups attacking the Black Belt on the south side, while most of the casualties and property damage were suffered by black Chicagoans. Newspaper accounts noted numerous attempts at arson. For instance, on July 31st, more than 30 arson fires were started in the Black Belt before noon, while rioters stretched cables across the streets to keep out fire trucks. The Chicago mayor's office was informed of a plan to burn down the black area and run its residents out of town. There were also sporadic violent attacks in other parts of the city, including the Chicago Loop. Because of the rioting, 38 people died, 23 black and 15 white, and another 537 were injured, 2/3 of them Black, black.
Chicago Loop is downtown. That's what we call the Loop. The Loop is downtown Chicago.
Patrolman John W. Simpson was the only policeman killed in the riot. Approximately 1,000 residents were left homeless after the fires. Many black families left by train during the riot, returning to their families in the South. To help restore order, Chief of Police John J. Garrity closed all places where men congregate for other than religious purposes. Illinois Governor Frank Loden authorized the deployment of the 11th Illinois Infantry Regiment and his machine gun company, as well as the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Reserve Militia, as a total of 3,500 men. The Cook County Sheriff deputized between 1,000 and 2,000 ex-soldiers to help keep the peace. With the reserves and militias guarding the Black Belt, the city arranged for emergency provisions to provide its residents with food. White groups delivered food and supplies to the line established by the military, who passed them out to blacks for distribution within the Black Belt. While industry was closed, the packing plants arranged to deliver pay to certain places in the city so that black men could pick up their wages. Once order was restored, Loudon was urged to create a state committee to study the cause of the riots. He proposed forming a committee to write a racial code of ethics and to draw up racial boundaries for activities within the cities. The Cook County Coroner's Office took 70-day sessions, 20 night sessions, and 450 witnesses examinations to collect evidence about the riots. A report stated that on July 27, 1919, Eugene Williams, an African-American youth, drifted towards an informally segregated beach on the south side while holding onto a railroad tie. He was subsequently hit by a stone as a white man threw rocks at him and other blacks to drive them away from their part of the 29th Street beach in the city's Douglas community on the south side. A witness recalled seeing a single white male standing on a breakwater 75 feet from the raft of the blacks and throwing rocks at them. Williams was struck in the head, and then he panicked, lost his grip on the railroad tie, and drowned. The assailant ran toward 29th Street, where a different fight had already started, when blacks tried to use a section of the beach there in defiance of his tacit segregation. The rioting escalated when a white police officer refused to arrest the man who threw the stone at Williams. He instead arrested a black man on a white man's complaint of some minor offense. Anger over the arrest, coupled with Williams' death and rumors among both communities, escalated into 5 days of rioting. Most casualties were black, and most of the property damage was inflicted in black neighborhoods.
So all this stuff happened because of a lie. First, this happened because of hatred. First, it happened because of hatred. Then it escalated over a lie. Hatred and a lie. That's how most of these properties was damaged. Black folks was unalived. They said some white folks was unalived, but I believe it was more than what they saying. That's just my belief. Because they never really give you the exact total number. Just like when they talk about the unaliving in Chicago, all this stuff. They don't give you the total numbers. And they don't report everything that happens in these neighborhoods. So they just expect you to go by what they say, what they report. What they report is facts. So they say.
Historians noted Southside youth gangs, including the Hamburg Athletic Club, were later found to have been among the primary instigators to the racial violence. For weeks in the spring and summer of 1919, they had been anticipating, even eagerly waiting, a race riot. And on several occasions, they themselves had endeavored to precipitate one. And now that racial violence threatened to become generalized and unrestrained throughout Chicago, they were set to exploit the chaos. Early reports detailed injuries to police officers and the Chicago firemen. One black policeman, John Simpson, was killed during the riot by persons unknown. The conduct of the white police force was criticized during and after the riots. State's Attorney Mackley Hoyne accused the police of arresting black rioters while refusing to arrest white rioters. Hoyne began bringing the cases involving only blacks to the sitting grand jury to be charged, causing jurors to walk out. What the blank is the matter with the state's attorney? Hasn't he got any white cases to present? A juror complained. The jury then deferred hearing evidence of all cases against blacks until whites were also charged. Similarly, a judge lectured police. I want to explain to you officers that these colored people could not have been rioting among themselves. Bring me some white prisoners. Roaming gangs of Bridgeport whites, mostly Irish, perpetrated much of the violence. Although the local newspapers carried accounts of blacks setting fires, later the office of State Fire Marshal Gamber proved conclusively that the fires were not caused by blacks but by whites. The New York Times coverage of the riot clearly conveyed that whites were responsible for the coordinated large-scale arson against black areas and for numerous mob attacks. With early police failures to arrest whites other than for Williams' death, most deaths were not prosecuted, and only 2 white Chicagoans were ultimately convicted of murder. The one man prosecuted for Williams' death was acquitted. The riot impacted Chicago's economy. Low-income areas such as tenement housing were especially impacted as areas of possible riots. Some of the South Side's industry was closed during the riot. Businesses in the Loop were also affected by closure of the streetcars. Many workers stayed away from affected areas. At the Union Stockyard, one of Chicago's largest employers, all 15,000 black workers were initially expected to return to work on Monday, August 4th, 1919. But after arson near white employees' homes near the stockyards on August 3rd, the management banned black employees from the stockyards in fear of further rioting. Governor Loudon noted his opinion that the troubles were related to labor issues rather than race. Nearly 1/3 of the black employees were non-union and were resented by union employees for that reason. Black workers were kept out of the stockyards for 10 days after the end of the riot because of continued unrest. On August 8, 1919, about 3,000 non-union black workers showed up for work under protection of special police, deputy sheriffs, and militia. The white union employees threatened to strike unless such security forces were discontinued. Their main grievance against blacks was that they were non-union and had been used by management as strikebreakers in earlier years. Many blacks fled the city as a result of the riots and damage. Illinois Attorney General Edward Brundage and State Attorney Hoyne gathered evidence to prepare for a grand jury investigation. They stated intention was to pursue all perpetrators and to seek the death penalty as necessary. On August 4th, 1919, 17 indictments against blacks were handed down. Richard J. Daley was a member and years later elected president of the Hamburg Athletic Club in Bridgeport. Daley served as Chicago's mayor from 1955 to 1976. In his long political career, he never confirmed nor denied involvement in the riots. In 1922, 6 whites and 6 blacks were commissioned to discover the true roots of the riots. It claimed that returning soldiers from World War I not receiving their original jobs and homes instigated the riots. In 1930, Mayor William Hill Thompson, a flamboyant Republican, invoked the riot in a misleading pamphlet urging blacks to vote against the Republican nominee, Representative Ruth Hannah McCormick, in the United States Senate race for her late husband's seat. She was the widow of Senator Joseph Medill McCormick, as well as the sister-in-law of Chicago Tribune publisher Robert Rutherford McCormick. The McCormicks were a powerful Chicago family whom Thompson opposed. President Woodrow Wilson pronounced white participants the instigators of the prolonged riots in Chicago and Washington, D.C. As a result, he attempted to promote greater racial harmony through the promotion of voluntary organizations and through the enactments of legislative improvements by Congress. Wilson did not reverse the policy of racial segregation within the federal bureaucracy imposed at the beginning of his term in office, however. The Chicago race riot of 1919 shocked the nation and raised awareness of the problems that African Americans face every day in the early 20th century United States. This concludes episode.
See, so we had a lot of racial tension in Chicago. And like I said, we had it all the way up to the 70s, early 80s. It's still kind of a little racial tensions here in Chicago. But it's kind of, I'm not going to say easing down or because you got a lot of us, like in other cities and other places where, black people can live, where back in the day, they wouldn't be able to live because it was, particularly for white people only. So that changed a little bit. That changed a little bit. So, we'll it's a trip, man. It's a trip. I've been trying to keep up on this Diddy, not Diddy, but Nolan Wells trial, and I don't know, man. There's still a lot of questions. There's still a lot of questions, man. I want to play something right quick that I found very interesting. I found very interesting. Now, what's going on now? Nolan Wells' family has subpoenaed the different social media outlets because, like, when they got Nolan's phone, everything was erased from social media. So now, his family and Ben Crump and them has subpoenaed social media outlets to see what was on his phone. Now, this is from Nancy Grace. She had old boy Officer Tatum on there. I really don't really care for Officer Tatum. I don't agree with most of the things he says. And to me, he seemed like a person who can, just my opinion, a person can be persuaded. You can be persuaded. That's what he seemed like to me. Because he's just like the other people. Trying to like, oh, it was a drowning, the boys that had nothing to do with it, blah, blah, blah. How do you know if there was no investigation? How do you know all this? I don't play this Nancy Grace thing. And she had him on her show. She had him on her show. And when she questioned him, even she kind of like, hey, that don't sound right. That don't sound right. But I want y'all to listen to Nancy Grace.
Build your perfect.
Uh-oh. Not yet. Let's play them damn commercial.
Bombshell tonight. In the last 24 hours, Nolan Wells' family hits social media giants, subpoenaing Nolan's accounts. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us.
He was face down on the beach right at the water's edge.
If he was set face down, that also doesn't make sense to me. If he's face down, wouldn't blood pool just by nature of gravity this way?
So right now, we've got a lot of questions, but as the second doctor says, this is all still pending investigation.
If this were your child, wouldn't you want to know what happened?
The mom asked for Nolan's phone.
Right.
Was there a struggle over it, or
No,
you guys hand it over?
I mean, just handed it over. I mean, we didn't think anything of it. Like, she asked for Nolan's phone. We knew they were close friends with, the Wells family, and my buddy went out to his truck and handed the phone over. No complications, no issue, nothing. But I mean, I told Miss Christine that we had his phone and he had left it in our possession on the boat.
When did you talk to her about that?
When I was on, no, I didn't talk to her once. It was like 12:30. I mean, I might have texted her a couple times and talked briefly about a couple things, but I never. I told her on the phone before I called the Coast Guard that we had Nolan's phone. Before I called Miss Christine, none of us had a reason to go through Nolan's phone. I mean, there's multiple phones on the boat. Why would we? And the boat was having issues. Why would our concern be getting on Nolan's phone or something? I mean, I don't know Nolan's password. None of my friends do. We had no reason ever to get on Nolan's phone and look at anything. I didn't touch Nolan's phone. None of us touched Nolan's phone until somebody took it off the boat and put it in White's truck, and then no one touched it until we handed it back, to the mom that was at my buddy's house.
That is from.
Now, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. When this story first came out, it was said by the mother. When they went to the house to pick up the phone. Nobody knew where the phone was at. They said it was waiting about for 15 minutes. Then someone told them that his phones and keys was on top of an Xbox. Then they gave them the phone and keys. Now he's saying that his phone and keys was in his friend Wyatt's car. And when they came and got the phone and keys, that he went in the car and got the phone and keys. Two different stories. Two different stories. It's two different stories. That's why, this case is so interesting. Because there's too much contradiction in these stories that are coming out.
From the Officer Tatum show, he has interviewed several of the young men that were on the boat when Nolan Wells was taken to Horn Island. They say he was not on the boat on the return trip, although audio seems to suggest otherwise. Listen to the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources call.
Vicky speaking. How can I help you?
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our village phone stopped working. We're thinking, can y'all please tell me we have a membership?
All right, of course. How far is it coming up, sir? Can you give me a description? Ankles? Hello?
Hey,
Is it Yes, how far is the water coming up, sir?
It's going up, we're just thinking, I don't know, like, we're going down now.
Alright, well, let's get you going. Membership number or phone number listed on the account, sir.
I don't know the phone number, it's either, I think it's, try that.
Alright,
I know we have a membership, like, guaranteed. I don't have
alright,
to tag
unless
on
you have
you,
a
we got ripped
membership
off.
number or anything, it's okay. I'll get you over to the captain. What's the best phone number to reach you at?
Reach me at
Particular phrases in that call, if it's to be believed, Nolan don't die. Sure, he's dead. Is he dead? Nolan, OMG. Wake the F up. It goes on. I thought he was on the check his chest. That, if it's to be believed, suggests that Nolan was on that boat. Tatum says the witnesses are clear. He was not on the boat. Tonight, we learned in the last 24 hours, the Nolan Wells family hits social media giants with subpoenas for all information related to Nolan's phone. First, straight out to Dave Mack Crime Stories investigative reporter. Then we will be joined by Brandon Tatum. Dave Mack, what's happening?
Right now, Nancy, the family of Nolan Wells has announced that they are going after, they have subpoenaed documents for Nolan Wells' phone. They've gone to the media giants like, TikTok, Instagram, the Meta companies, everybody that Nolan Wells used to push out videos of what he was doing and pictures. And they're trying to, they believe that some material was deleted from Nolan's phone. And this is what they're trying to prove with these subpoenas, to get all of the information, as well as, by the way, the location tracking app Life 360. So you got Snapchat, WhatsApp, TikTok, Meta platforms, and Life 360. All of this, the court documents already filed, Nancy.
Nolan Wells' family slapped subpoenas on multiple social media giants seeking his account information and data. This into the investigation of the teen college football player's mysterious death. They were issued in the last 24 hours, including Snapchat, WhatsApp, TikTok, Meta platforms, Life 360, and these are according to court documents demanding the companies turn over all materials, info related to Nolan's accounts. This includes current and prior usernames, passwords, email addresses, phone numbers, even displayed names. They want IP addresses associated with every account, all communications, chats, posts, stories, and info. His cell phone has become a key, a critical issue in the probe into Nolan's death. What happened to Nolan? Now his mother, Christine, says when her son's phone was brought to the family, they had concerns because there were no pictures or videos on either of his Snapchat accounts. Triggering their fear, items may have been deleted. That's what's happening. There's been a lot of controversy. Were photos, were texts deleted? Were snaps deleted? We've been trying to figure it out, but we're seeing through a mirror darkly. We don't know. But according to experts, a trail will be left if anything has been deleted, even if you delete it from the deleted file. Now, joining us, special guest, Brandon Tatum. You know him well. He's a former police officer with Tucson PD. That's what impresses me. What impresses a lot of other people is he is the star of The Officer Tatum.
Now, this part here, she's going to question him. I want you to hear how he answer her questions. But Nancy Grace is smart. She's smart. She just like the family. She want to know what really happened. She don't want to go on what he say or whatever. She want to go on the facts and evidence. She ain't going by what people say. She going to go by the facts. But check it out.
Officer Tatum, thank you for being with us tonight. Question to you. You interviewed, as we played at the get-go, several of Nolan's friends. Did they show you photos, videos, snaps of that day on Horn Island?
Well, Nancy, thank you so much for having me on. I spoke to 4 of the boys that are originally accused of being involved in Nolan Wells' death. And they did show me a lot of evidence. I want people to be very clear with this. I spent my career putting people in jail. My career is based on getting justice for people who have been done wrong. I've never been a defense attorney. So me going out and doing this was to find out what happened to Nolan Wells. And in talking to these young men, the burden of proof is they're going to have to prove to me. I'm not going to listen to what they say out of their mouth. They're going to show me. And in many cases, they showed me videos of Nolan on the island. They showed me videos of the boat when they were getting towed out, which is consistent with, kind of similar to what the phone call was. I mean, they showed me pictures of them with Nolan. They showed me phone records of them calling Nolan's mom and all of the above. So they seem very consistent. They seem very genuine. And they also proved to me some of the things that they had told me in the interview that I had with them that I have uploaded on my YouTube channel.
Officer Tatum, are you telling me that they had reception on Horn Island? Because many people are saying, well, the reason that there's nothing on Nolan's phone of that day, like there's no pictures, there's no snaps, there's no text, there's no anything, not because it was deleted, but because he didn't have reception. But you're telling me the other boys did have snaps, photos, videos, and reception?
Yeah, no, Nancy, let me clarify this for you. It wasn't that they uploaded this online. They showed me videos and things that they took from the boat during the outing on 4th of July. I was personally out at Horn Island. I rode out there on a boat, and I didn't have great reception there. And I left my phone in the boat when I got into the water and we were actually going out to do interviews.
Object.
Yeah, no shit. Because that's bullshit. Because that's bull. You still can take a picture or make a film. Yeah, you can't unload it, but it is still be in your phone. I did that a few times. Well, I had filmed, especially when I was on the road, when I used to film a lot of stuff on Facebook, me driving on the road. Some places I couldn't unload it, but once I got somewhere where I can unload it, that's when I did it. Then I posted it. So it still be in your phone. You just can't post it. Well, check out Nancy Grace. Shout out to Nancy Grace.
Objection. You've been in court long enough to know you're gonna get objections. You said you didn't have great reception, but you did have reception, did you not?
No, there was reception there. It just wasn't great, and it wasn't great enough for people, in my opinion, to upload. You could make a phone call potentially, but you weren't gonna upload data to a social media account. Now, could people take the steps to do it if they're dedicated enough? Yes, but it doesn't appear that would have been a frequent thing, given the fact that you probably had 1 or 2 bars out there. And I heard evidence of that. Not only did I see evidence of it when I went out there myself personally with my cell phone, when I listened to the CETO call, you could tell that the call dropped out several times. It seemed like they were having trouble at times hearing each other. So it is consistent. And anybody that traveled out there that's gone to the 4th of July celebration, they know that the reception is not very great. So the videos that they showed me in call logs were things that were not associated to social media, that they never posted on social media. It was, pictures and videos that they took on their phone.
Okay.
See, to me, he's not speaking on trying to find the truth. It sounds more of like he's trying to clear the young man of any wrongdoing. Now, we don't have all the evidence. And of course, they're innocent until proven guilty. And I'm not putting guilt on them. But you can't make an affirmative decision or talking point on when all the evidence are not in. You can't do that. You gotta wait till you get all the evidence. You don't have all the evidence. You don't have all the evidence. Only thing you can say is what them guys showed you. Okay, they showed you this and they showed you that. And Nancy Grace asked them a good question. Because that was one of the excuses. Well, he probably couldn't get no reception. That's why he didn't film nothing out there at Horn Island. Nancy Grace said that. Because that was the first excuse that came out. Oh, we didn't erase. There wasn't nothing to erase. Couldn't get no reception out there. But everybody else is filming and all this. But see, he don't know he put his foot in his mouth. Because he said you can't upload out there. So how are the pictures that the boys got that they filmed out there, they eventually uploaded?
Let me refine my question. I take it from your last answer that the answer is yes, you had reception on Horn Island.
Yes, I did have reception on Horn Island.
We just played that CETO call. It's 2 words, SEATOW, and it's kind of insurance that people have that are boat goers. And if you have a problem, CETO will come and tow you back to the mainland. They said they had a problem. They said they were taking on water. One of your takes is that all the chatter that we're hearing, wake up Nolan, are you dead Nolan, wake the F up Nolan, could be referring to the battery, the bills on the boat, that it's all unclear. Regarding the boat being disabled, apparently it was not. Listen.
So first, at 9:56 a.m., the boat leaves the original dock. It arrives at Horn Island at 11:14. So at around 4 o'clock, there is a call to the Coast Guard about the boat. NBC News got a hold of it.
We're sinking. Can y'all please call?
And is everybody on board and good health otherwise?
Yeah, everybody's on board.
Everybody's on board. So does that mean Nolan is on there? Who was on that boat? At 4:31, the boat leaves Horn Island and it is towed approximately 3 miles, and then the tow ends. So after 3 miles, they go back to the original dock, okay? They arrive at 5:44 p.m. So it looks like this is where Horn Island is, and this is where the original dock is that I am referring to. I looked it up, and El Camino Real Road is in Gulf Hills, Mississippi, which is right above Ocean Springs. So I'm wondering if this is the house where they got the phone. Now, the boat travels to Fort Bayou. At 6:06, the boat returns to the original dock. Then, from the original dock, the boat goes back to Fort Bayou, and then they go to the boat launch, and it is put onto the trailer and moved by the vehicle. Did they drop people off at the original dock, travel to Fort Bayou, pick somebody up, and go back to that original dock? And then from there, why was there an hour and 13-minute time gap? This boat was sinking hours before, and then they're just having it docked for an hour and 13 minutes. You would think they'd want to get that boat out of the water ASAP.
Only Brawny has 3.
See, that's why I say a lot of things not making sense, man. A lot of things ain't making sense. But she's trapping old boy though. She's trapping him. She's getting him good. She's getting him good. You know, they played another commercial, so skip the commercial. But here we go now.
That from the real TikTok detective, the boat wasn't sinking. They told C2 it was sinking. What's the truth? Was it sinking and they repaired it? Did they have a leak and they repaired it and kept on SOP? Brandon Tatum joining us, former cop, now star of The Officer Tatum. Did the young man explain those travels we just identified?
Yeah, 100% they did that. I wish that people on the internet would have had an opportunity, and they can go look at the interview that I did with Warren, but they had an opportunity to actually talk to these young men to get this in perspective, because some people have no idea how boats function and how they work. They explained to me, they took me on a boat and showed me exactly where they went, where they docked, where did they, stop at, how did they get the bilge pump and the water out of the boat and all of the above. So they were sinking, they were taking on water, the water came up high enough that the batteries weren't working. They had to get a tow to kind of tow them out, where you can see the young lady saying about 3 miles out. It's a complicated boat jargon, but they ended up getting the boat out. They ended up getting it to the point where they could run the water out of the boat through a hole in the boat that they ended up plugging. They explained all this. Anybody that does boating know exactly what they're talking about if you hear them explain it on the interview. So they have an explanation for all of these things. And not only that, Nancy, they showed me video of them on the boat, and Nolan was not on the boat. Nolan was not on the boat log, and there are people who saw Nolan on the island closer to around 6 p.m., which is far after they left, far after this phone call was made. I saw text messages from the young lady that Nolan was with, the young lady named Katie. I saw her text messages. In her text messages, she said that she heard the boys yelling for Nolan to get on the boat. He did not. She said in her text message that she did not see Nolan get on the boat he came on, which was Wyatt's boat, which is the boat that was sinking and they ended up leaving on. So it wasn't just a statement that they made on a podcast. They were actually showing me evidence to the contrary of what the mainstream YouTubers and some media outlets are putting out to people at large. And so I wish that people would go watch the interview or at least take some time to listen to these boys' statements. And then I'll say this, Nancy, too. I wish that the family would have taken the time, or at least Benjamin Crump would have taken the time to reach out to the lawyers or reach out to these young boys to get their statements. So they're not wasting their time sending everybody on a rabbit trail when they could have just talked to these boys. And they could have, but they refused. Because I saw a message from Warren where he called Nolan's mom twice. I've seen messages from Warren's stepmother, Ashley, where she sent Nolan's mom a text saying, please reach out to me whenever you're ready. I would like to talk. Other parents I saw messages from who reached out to Nolan's mom saying, we need to talk. Can we talk? I'm available if you need to talk to us. I do not understand at this point why Benjamin Crump would go out and put misinformation out online when he had the availability to talk to these kids and clear these things up like I did before he presented this to the public. We also reached out to Benjamin Crump 4 times. And on the 5th time, they come back and tell us that the family is not doing interviews. We didn't ask to talk to the family. We asked to talk to the attorney, Benjamin Crump. Why? So we can come together as a community and solve what happened to Nolan Wells, not create and stoke division, which is what I've seen from
Tatum,
Benjamin Crump.
You know what? I don't tell you why that's a hawk of shit, what he just said. Because it was reported that they was on another boat, on the other kid's boat. Then he's gonna say that when they were saying Nolan don't die and all this stuff, they was talking about the water. They was talking about the water thing. Come on, man. You gonna call the Blige Nolan? That don't make no sense. And like I was telling you guys, he's speaking as if everything them boys said is true. Where you can see the contradiction in the stories from the beginning. And don't forget on my last, I think it was my last video, when I played one of Tisa Tales and how she was saying that her Warren's stepmom, who's a judge, and him got together, met before the interview. And what did he speak? What did he say? He did one of the numbers people accuse me of doing. Well, if you watch my show, watch my interview, he put up in his YouTube station. Because he know if he say that, people gonna want to listen and see what them boys said. So they're drawing him viewers. Well, I want y'all to finish. Yeah, because Nancy Grace, boy, I'm telling you, sometimes I don't like her, but man, she's somebody you don't want to mess with.
Exactly what we're trying to do. And I hear everything you're saying, and I think like a prosecutor, my main goal is to find the truth of what happened to Nolan Wells. And one thing I cannot get away from is the medical examiner. I'm trying to get to tonight's news, which I'm going to get to, but you're seeing a video from WLOX. Speaking of sinking, is an alleged issue with the boat Bilge. Well, Randy and Bunny on TikTok have their interpretation of that. Watch this.
Cecil, is this Vicky speaking? How can I help you?
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our village pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can y'all please tell me we have a membership?
All right, of course. How far is the water coming up, sir? Can you give me a description? Ankles? Hello?
Hey.
Yes, how far is the water coming up, sir?
It's going up. We're just thinking. I don't know. Like we're going down now.
That from Randy and Bunny on TikTok. Joe Scott Morgan, very quickly before I can get into why the family believes they need subpoenas to social media giants to get the truth about what happened to Nolan's phone. Anybody can say anything after the fact. Those boys may be innocent. They can look like choir boys, angels now, but I still don't know what happened on that boat, and I still see conflicts. Can they be reconciled? I hope so. But until they are, we're on it. This is what I can't get away from, controlling. Please show Joseph Scott Morgan the autopsy diagram of the victim's occipital bone. Okay, I don't care what anybody says. I do not care. if an archangel lands on this anchor desk, if he lies to me, I'm using handcuffs for his wrist and a rope for his wings. You hear me? Look at that again. Put it back up. He has deep reddening subcutaneously on the back of his head. Nowhere else. It's not on his neck. The back of his neck anyway. Don't see it on the back. Don't see it anywhere else on the body. So I really don't want to hear a lame explanation that it's lividity of the blood sinking to the back of the body. Number one, the body was on its face. But that said, they kept the neck and the lungs. Lungs to see if he drowned, neck. Why would they keep his neck? I can't get away from this, Joe Scott Morgan, and I don't care how angelic the friends appear, and they may be angels. I don't know that yet. You can't get away from this, Morgan.
No, you can't, and we can't get away from it until the investigation is concluded on the part of the state medical examiner's office and the authorities. And in Mississippi, and I can promise you this, as the day is long, they're not going to release this information because it's an ongoing investigation. I know everybody wants it. Now, what we do have is a second view. We've got a second set of eyes on this from a highly accomplished forensic pathologist, I might add, former chief medical examiner for DC, and he went over Nolan's body very, very thoroughly. And he in his statements relative to this area states that he cannot make heads or tails of it at this point in time because it's compromised, this area I'm referring to in the occipital area of the head, because it has been compromised through decomposition. Now, he did a multi-layered dissection, and what that means is layer by layer, the skin, sub-Q fat, down through the muscle, which had not previously been done in this manner, according to him. I don't even know if it's annotated in the state medical examiner's report because it hasn't been released yet. They're still waiting. It's pending multiple things. How many times have we heard this over the years? They're doing their own histological studies, which means the tissue samples. And also the big part to this, Nancy, is going to be the toxicology. And we know that that takes some time. And it's not just going to be about alcohol. It's going to be everything in the spectrum.
So they checking for everything. Now, allegedly, they say drugs might be involved. And in my opinion, if that's the case, that's going to be a whole lot of cans of worms going to have to be open. Because then it's going to be who supplied it, where he get it from, who gave it to him. So we hope it don't get to that point. Like you say, if it's an accidental drowning, hey, but as long as we know the truth. And that's what it's all about, finding out the truth. It's not about accusing anybody of anything. But when you have stories changing, each story, contradicting the first story and all this shit, just open your eyes, makes you say, damn, something going on. And all these people want to know is what happened to their son. I don't know why they getting death threats because they trying to find out what happened to their son. Well, let's continue.
The Officer Tatum on YouTube. Have the friends taken polygraphs?
Well, from my understanding, all but I believe one took a polygraph, and from what was told to me that they all passed, and all of the ones that took a polygraph took one without a lawyer. And so, and they cooperated with law enforcement. So from my understanding, everybody took a
Why do you say
polygraph
that's
test
from
for
what you
one.
understand? Did they tell you they took a poly
They
pass?
told yes, ma'am. They told me that they did it. I wasn't there, so that's what I'm saying. From my understanding, they told me that all the boys except for one, which is Warren, I believe, took a polygraph test. All of them did not have lawyers and did it and cooperated with police. Warren also cooperated with police. I just believe he didn't take a lot to take the test, but Warren is the young man that I interviewed. So according to what they told me, they all took a lot of tech tests and passed. And it's an equivalent of a lot of tech tests. It's not a traditional lot of tech test, but it's the same theology of trying to get to if a person is lying. I don't know the name of it. It's an equivalent of a lot of tech tests. It's a different methodology. I don't believe it was a polygraph test. I believe they took other stressors in order to analyze if
So then
people were
the
telling the
answer
truth or
to
not.
did they take a polygraph would be no.
Well, yeah, I think it could be semantics because they took a test to analyze whether or not they were being truthful in their statements, and that certified test, they passed it. It just wasn't considered a traditional polygraph. I think it's a more advanced way of doing it.
She called him in a lie. Oh shit! Oh shit! She called him in a lie. She asked him, "Did they take a polygraph test?" And he repeated, "Hold on, yes, they told me they took a polygraph test without any representation. They fully cooperated with the police. All of them but one warned he didn't take the polygraph test, but he did cooperate with the police." Now she corrected him. Oh, well, yeah, well, it was caught him in a lie. Caught him in a lie.
And then paid him. Hold on. In a nutshell, Joe Scott, there's a difference between a polygraph, which measures all sorts of body signals, your sweat, your breathing, your heart, your blood pressure, all sorts of things, and an audio verification test. Big difference.
Yeah. So the audio is, you're looking for stressors in the voice, and these people are highly trained to do this. And I'm, you know how the courts feel about these tests. Are they admissible or not? But I think that, going to Brandon's point, the fact that they have taken these, at least those named allegedly have taken these according to him, I think that that's significant. Now, whether or not that this is going to be useful,
Right.
A useful investigative tool is hard to measure.
I didn't ask you if it's going to be used in court. That's a whole nother animal. We'll burn that bridge when we get there. Okay, there may never even be a court case. First,
Right.
I got to find out what happened to Nolan. Okay, so let's not put the cart before the horse. You've got eye detections tests. I don't put any stock in that as to whether somebody's lying. You've got nonverbal communication experts claiming they can tell. You've got brainwave analysis. You've got all sorts of things. I want to poly.
Right.
I'm not saying they did anything or they didn't do anything. Go, strap up, take me a poly. Officer Tatum, star of the Officer Tatum on YouTube. I've been told, but I can't verify, that the boat in question has been searched by scent dogs and cadaver dogs. Is that true?
I'm not familiar if that's true. Let me just clarify. The test that they took was a voice stress analysis test instead of what we call a traditional polygraph test. But I'm not familiar with the cadaver dog searching the boat. I wasn't informed that that was the case. But I was told by the boys that they did not wash the boat off or do any of those things that they were accused of doing, after this incident.
Right.
And I say, based on all the things that I've heard, it appears that they've been very truthful with me. And law enforcement. They've already communicated with law enforcement very early on.
Okay, Officer Tatum, coming from you, I do give that credence because you were a Tucson PD. I've had people sit down, look me right in the face and lie, and they are so convincing. So I don't know who's telling the truth. I don't know what happened, and that's why I really resent people suggesting the investigation be shut down. We're not doing that until we know what happened. Officer Tatum interviewed multiple of the young men on that boat. Now, let me address what's happened in the last hours. The family is not buying what they are saying, that nothing was deleted. They're not saying they're lying. They're not saying they're telling the truth. They have hit social media giants with subpoenas once and for all to get everything there is to get about Nolan Wells Digital. Okay, straight out to Dr. Jim Jones joining us out of Virginia.
See, that's why I don't like old boy. He's not trying to. He's just trying to just like seem like help sweep it under the rug without finding out what really happened to Nolan. Then you gonna pub. Oh well, watch my channel and you'll see the interview, man. No, no, no. You got an agenda, bro. You got an agenda. You know, you don't really care about what happened to that young brother. You don't care. You got an agenda. It's a shame. It's a shame, man. But we're gonna keep it. We're gonna stay on this case to see how it develops. Because I'm sure, if not every day, but probably almost every other day, we're gonna get new updates as this investigation goes on. We're gonna have good, more updates. So we just gonna, see how the investigation go. And I hope all the big content creators keep up with this. Talk about it. Put this in the forefront. Let people know, man. Hey, we want to know what happened to him too. It ain't like he was a bad kid. Don't seem like. Went to school, played ball. You know, so you don't seem like a bad kid. It was the kid that hung in the streets. Then he all of a sudden is unalive. Shit, what happened? So hey, let's see how they go with this investigation. Like I said before, the state of Mississippi can't afford to, mess this up. Because all eyes on them. All eyes are on them. Yep. It's crazy. It's crazy world, y'all. Crazy world. Crazy world. So, man, like they say, the power of money. What people do for money is crazy. People sell their souls. Cat Williams told y'all. What's up, Shotty? Cat Williams told y'all. These people sell their soul for money. And I think old boy is selling his integrity for money. Like I say, we're not saying them boys had anything to do with Nolan Wales' death. We don't know. We don't know. We just want to know what happened to him. If it comes out that they had something to do with it, do your business. If it didn't have nothing to do with it, if he did accidentally drown, hey, at least we know and the family know that he just accidentally drowned. Simple as that. What's up, Shotty? Boy, you a fool. I saw you play with old girl in Grandma calling. What, Dominica or whatever name was? That was funny. Well, yeah, probably so. Probably so. You know it's gonna be a big spectacle. You know that. It's definitely gonna be that if that be the case. I think like court time or whatever, it's gonna be bigger than the OJ trial. Everybody gonna be watching it. And the key gonna be if they allow TV cameras in the courtroom. Everybody gonna be watching. Yeah, so it's bad. It's gonna be a trip. It's gonna be a trip, man. Yeah, it's gonna be a trip. Shit. Hey, Shotty, if that happens, it's gonna be a riot. I guarantee it. If it comes out that they had something to do with his unaliving, but they just get probation, man. So I hope it don't be that. Shit. Shit. All right. All right. It's gonna be, I'm telling you, it's gonna be a riot. Watch. I hope it don't come to that. But shit. We, this generation of black folks is different. We different. We ain't like the old school black folks. You know, just like you don't believe in that march. You got a lot of black folks that think that way. That's why I say I hope it don't come to that. I hope. I pray. Yeah, that's how it normally is. But shit, Shotty, what do we own in our neighborhood anyway? Shit. Oh, shit. That's still senseless though. Cause just like here, man, these people looted these Walgreens so much in the black community. Some of them closed down. And, you know, you have a lot of senior citizens that go there and get their medication. So they got to go way across the city and shit to get their medication. But all they had to do is just go right down the street. So sometimes when we do shit like that, we hurt ourselves. Especially when we loot. But Shotty, I'll tell you something. It don't be us that's burning shit down. Now we'll loot our ass off. We'll go grab shit, but we ain't gonna burn it down. But like they found one owner of a liquor store here during that last when George Floyd thing happened. His liquor store went up on fire, and he claimed it on insurance. But they found out it was fraud because they found out that he burned his own store for the insurance. So yeah, we sure mess ourselves up though when we do that shit. But I'm telling you, nah, probation. Yeah, I don't think they'll get no probation. Too many eyes, man. Too many eyes. Too many people watching. Too many people following. You know, well, told on who? That who you talking about? You talking about that liquor store owner I was talking about? I don't know who told on them, but they found out somehow. I wouldn't doubt it, cause you know some of them, you know they have a few blacks working there. They use them because they probably live in the neighborhood and know everybody. That's how they do. They pay them pennies. Hmm. Yup. And back in the day, before I left Chicago, I was doing security, and I had a little side the sad thing, and I was doing security at this Korean store down on 47. Man, that shit was crazy. They had a project right there, like on 47th off of Indiana or somewhere. That project looked just like the projects in New Jack City. One way in, one way out. I can't think of the name of that project. But yeah, but I couldn't see myself doing that shit today. These brothers too crazy, man. And another reason why I stopped doing that, but most of them foreign people, well, at that time, they don't care about you. They don't care about you. They're in there to take your money. That's all they want. And we fools enough to go buy all that high shit. Shit was in the 80s. They used to have like I can't think of the jeans they used to wear back then, but they used to cost like $50, $60. That was a lot back then for a pair of jeans. Man, the material's so damn thin, man, and they sell it for that price. And fools come in there and buy it, especially the dope boys. They come in there and buy that shit. All that them FUBU jackets back in the day, them team jackets and all that bullshit. What they used to wear. Yeah, taking money out of our community. And they don't give a care about us. They don't give a damn about us. But they taking our money. And they're the people we choose to do business with. You got more ladies, and some men go too. Some men take care of their feet. But you have some ladies and some men who will go to one of them Korean nail shops before they go to a black owned. So you do have some black owned nail shops. But we'll rather go to a Korean shop or whatever nationality they are. That's what we do. Because people talk about, or they roast me about my age. Even though we had like a few obstacles. You know, we dealt with a little racism and all that, but we was able to be kids. I used to walk like 5 blocks from my school to my house in kindergarten by myself with my house key on my neck. I used to have my mom made the chain where I had my house key on my neck so I wouldn't lose my key. Kindergarten. Ain't nowhere in hell you could do that now. I was able to be a kid. Every summer, I had something to do. I had the activities to participate in. My parents didn't have to worry about me just hanging around the house or hanging in the house or hanging in the streets. I had something to do. So we had a baseball league. I played baseball every summer from 7 years old till I went to high school. I played baseball. You know, recreational wise, I played basketball and football, but not organized till I got to high school. So I basically was a 3 sport athlete. But see, then we had the tools, we had the availability. You had some people who did a little game bang, but still played baseball. So everybody played sports. Everybody played sports. We had something to do. Now these kids don't have shit to do. Everything costs. A lot of these parents don't have the money to pay the prices that these people want for these different activities. That's why some of them don't exist no more. So where I'm from, Foster Park, what day, like Mondays and Wednesdays, Little League used to play. Tuesdays and Thursdays, Pony League played. Then on Saturday, mostly everybody played. Pony League and Little League. That part used to be filled. Different parks, not just people at Foster Park. You have people from Palmer Park. You have people from O'Hareland Park. You have people from different parks. Teams representing different parks that played in that tournament, played in that league. And we had one of the greats played in that league. Kirby Puckett. So sports in my neighborhood, man, that was natural. That was natural. Like I say, even the game bangers knew how to play some type of ball. So that's all we did. On Thanksgiving, we used to have our own little football game. We'd get early in the morning, go to the park, even if it snowed, we'd play in the snow. Have our own little football game. We had something to do. And that's what's missing with these kids. These kids had some type of avenue of something to do to occupy that devil's time. Because you know, idle time is the devil's time. But everything now is about money. You got people fighting over money. Money. People wonder why the NBA is like it is. Because everybody looking for the bag. Everybody just want the bag. They don't want the competition. They just want the bag. Money. That's everybody's concern now. Money. Money don't make you happy. It's good to have. But it don't make you happy. Now, if you don't have none, yeah, you're gonna be sad. But then because you have money, that don't mean you're gonna be happy all the time. See, sometimes money also can bring out the truth about a person. Because if a person act like an asshole with money, that means he always been an asshole. You have some people with money who won't let that go to their head. You know, they try to help other people to get to that point, get to their point, or to strive to get to their point. You have some people like that. And you have some people where I got mine, get yours the best way you can. You know, so hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. Like I say, shit, I don't have millions. I don't even have a million. But I still give back some way or somehow. They'll say I might not be a millionaire, but I made it. I never envisioned myself to be 62. You know, I'm in good health. You know, got a little, body tear, from the wars through the years. Well, I'm still here. I still can enjoy life. I'm in my right mind. That's all that counts. Well, uh, yeah, man. I'm telling you, I go back on what I was saying earlier about old boy. That's why I never did like him. Because he seemed like one of them opportunists. Do anything for money. Do anything for money. It's a shame, we got people like that. That's why I gave them examples of, people rather go to the other people's stores that are supporting the black owned. We, it's sad to say, we treat each other worse than you can say the so-called whites treat us. That's sad. That is sad. If you think about it. If you think about it. That's crazy. I would play a We Shall Overcome song. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. But it ain't happening. It ain't happening. It ain't gonna happen. So it's gonna get worse and worse, people. It's gonna get worse and worse. Only thing you can do is try to reach one person or reach basically reach one person. Because it can turn into a chain reaction. Where you reach that person reaches another person, so forth and so on. That's the only thing you can pray for now. All that wishing the black community come together and all that stuff, that's just wishful thinking, in my opinion. That's wishful thinking. And some of us are so poisoned we have so much poison in us that anything that's right is not comprehended. You know, they rather stay with the poison. You just hope that somebody out there probably in the midst of the poison is looking for an outlet, don't really feel the way that certain people do. You try to reach them. You try to open their eyes. Because everybody's eyes don't want to be open. So you want trying to reach the people whose eyes want to be open. Like I say, if you get one, you're good. That's why I say I don't care about how many people in my chat or who's watching. I can have one. I don't care. At least I know one that's listening. See, I'm not into all that shit. People say, "Oh, you ought to be on here at least make some money." It ain't about making money. I'm gonna get my reward. I'm gonna get my reward. I did all the hustling and bustling to make it in this world. I did that already. I gotta fulfill my other hustle. So I'm not looking to be rewarded on YouTube or no shit like that. Nah, nah, nah. This is something for me to do instead of always, you know, this conversation about real life shit. I like to do that. What's up, Derek? I like to do that. Everything else is secondary. If I'm in the mood, whatever. So I gotta say, man, hey, it's all who you are and what you're trying to accomplish. Like I say, I'm getting my reward for what I'm doing. I'm not looking to be rewarded by YouTube. So that's that. Shit, I gotta get outside today, y'all. Well, I've been outside yesterday, but get outside today, probably make a few runs. Cause tomorrow it's supposed to rain. So I'm gonna get out today. But I can't wait. On 29th of August, we throw a annual neighborhood picnic. I'm gonna go live at the picnic, show you guys what's happening, show you guys what we're trying to accomplish in our community. How we strive for peace and love. You know, we try to steer young men from that life, even though some of them still represent or whatever. But we're trying to get them away from the violence and the bullshit. You know, because I realized at an early age, the little stint I was calling myself gang banger, but that wasn't the life for me. I saw where it was headed. Even though I had the parents that wouldn't allow me to join, but your parents don't know what you're doing when you go, leave the house. Cause see, for one thing, back then we didn't stay around the house. We didn't do dirt around the house. So unless another parent saw you do something somewhere else or whatever, that's the only way your parents knew. And back then you had to look out for that too. So you definitely couldn't do nothing around that, in the neighborhood, in the house. Yep. When my father found out what I was doing, was one day at school, like I told the story before, because the people I knew, they automatically thought I was a peace stone. So I said, fuck it. Through the arguments, like, damn, I got all this time I'm playing ball, but, I said, fuck it. What's up, dog? What's up, FYB? So it was at school, and, opposite gang, disciples, tried to jump me and my boy. But, back then I was big, I played football and basketball, so I was kind of big. So, back then you knew how to fight. So, they really, didn't try. Then next thing I know, the dean had pulled me in his office because we was on the first floor. He was telling me all this boom, boom, boom. So me and my guy, we was going, we know where they walk home from school. They walk down 79th. So my man went and got his father thing, And we went up there, you know, we parked the car. Yeah, my cousin went there, FYB. My cousin, both of my cousins went to court. Yeah, I see a story about court because we football we used to play up there at Gately Stadium. And Calumet, they had a mixture of Stones and disciples. So I think mostly all the disciples went to the game in Gately. And we used to always hear about the fights and all that shit. So we had got a bus there. We took the bus, the team. We didn't have to get on no public transportation. But yeah, I know. I used to love playing in Gately. I used to love playing in Gately. But back then, Gately had that artificial turf. We used to love that shit. And Gately was the shit. Yeah. But anyway, went up there on Saturday night, parked the car. It was like a little gangway, empty space, but you could see 79. So we saw them came, you know, walking by. So my man pulled out his thing, you know, went off about four times. Then we ran to the car and left. So the guy driving the car dropped my boy off at his house. Then he dropped me off at the park. So when I got to the park, superintendent at the time at the park told me, hey, the police is up here looking for you. So she hid me for a minute. Told me to stay there. Then I, you know, eventually later on I had walked home. Then I saw the police at the corner where I lived. So I had just kept walking. Then I realized they don't know really what I look like. Yeah, they wait for me to go in the house. Then they know that's me. So I walked across the street and went to my friend's house across the street. Then I waited till the police left. I told them what happened. I lied. I said I ain't know he had the pop out, you know. All of a sudden I knew he pulled out the pop out. He just started, you know, unloading, you know, I don't know. So that was my story. And I stuck to it. Oh, but anyway, I saw the police leave. So I went to the crib. Went across the street to the crib. So I went, you know, went to bed and shit. I fell asleep. Next thing I know, my old man woke me up. He said, the police here. I said, oh shit. So the police started asking me questions. Said, you belong in the gang? I said, nope. Said, you got any tattoos? I ain't had no tattoos. I said, nope. And then he said, you know, we're going to have to take you in. Because, you know, so I had went in a lockup. And, you know, you get a lockup, you know, you have people in there with you, you know, they ask you what you in here for. So I had figured out what happened. Because like I told you, they didn't know what I looked like. Because I had walked right past them. Only thing they knew was where I lived. So that means that somebody had to tell where I live. Now, them guys we went after, they don't know where I live. You get where I'm coming from? Okay, now, I'm in the lockup, guys, man, what you here for? So I said, man, this punk motherfucker, man, blah, 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 blah. He told the cop, I'm telling the story and shit. Then, the night go by. Then, it's morning. That's when you go to court. But they had some people going to the county to go to court. I wasn't one of them. So I'm sitting in the cell waiting for me to go, see the judge that morning. And I see the guys who were going to the county to go to court. Then guess who I find out in the cell next to me? You're right. The same motherfucker who I did that shit with. So he heard everything I said. But they kind of got him though. They kind of did my justice. Because what they did, yeah. So what they did when they took him to the county, they put him in the cell with none but disciples. Oh shit. Oh shit. They whooped his ass. I told my boys around the crib what happened. They said, no. Because they the one told me what happened. I ain't know that happened until they told me that they put him in the cell with a bunch of disciples and they whooped his ass. Because I think he told them. I said, that's what you get. I said, that's what you get. That's what you get. That's when my old man first found out. Oh, but I lied my ass off. I lied my ass off. I said, "Dear, I ain't know he had that pop power. I ain't know he had." Oh shit! Yeah, and a couple of times, motherfuckers was after us, man. They came in our neighborhood. Shit. I ran like a rabbit, and I hid, and I saw the motherfuckers run past, and I waited a minute, and I walked to the crib. That's what I said. That's enough. That's enough. Moved out the neighborhood. Yeah, yeah. If you want to say it, that's what I did. Shit, man, shit. Yeah, well, shit. Motherfucker popping that thing at you, boy. You shit. You think I'm just gonna stand there like the Terminator? Shit. Or like Tony Montana? Shit. Nigga, hell yeah, you see. Nigga. Hey, hey, nigga, I was about that fast. I was about as fast as a rabbit. But I was gone. I was gone. Shit, I ran on my block, man. I cut through my neighbor's yard, man, hid in the bush. Shit. I'm just glad they didn't look in the bushes. Shit. Man, I was like Usain Bolt. Fuck Carl Lewis. Yeah, I was like Usain Bolt. Shit. Man, shit. Mm-hmm. Yep. I moved from the hood. At 19, I moved from the hood. Yeah, moved away from all that shit. Yeah, you start getting too known. You know, once you get that name, you know, you got that name. That's where that big Nate come from. When you said Big Nate, they knew that was me. Because when I used to write Big Nate, I wrote big, with the I. You know, you're supposed to dot the I, but I put like a 5-point star. Then I put Nate. Adi, uh, a lot of them ain't the same, man. A lot of these neighborhoods not the same. A lot of these neighborhoods not the same. Terratown, Foster Park, places like that, it was about preserving the community. Even though some of us on some fuck shit sometimes, but it was still about preserving the community, have respect for the community. It's not like that no more. But like I said before, it's about clicks now. Because you can have one people on this block, you know, could be the same thing. Let's say Stone. You can have people on this block that Stone, but they are a different type of Stone. And they go on at war with these Stone. It don't make no sense now. It's crazy. When people ask me why I mean there's no structure, that's a big example right there. Because back in the day, you would never see stone on stones or disciple on disciples, no shit like that. You wouldn't see that. You wouldn't see that. So that tells you right there. So it's just different out there, man. I wish to know what I know. I ain't wish to know nothing else. And I'm not going by no theory. I'm just going by what I'm told. Because I wasn't here for a good period. of the 90s or the early 2000s. So a lot of things changed when I was gone. But I don't know if you guys know about Chicago, but guys named Reno and Dino. When I left Chicago, they were just kids. They was just kids. Yeah. They was kids when I left Chicago FYB. That's why a buddy of mine, when he told me, because at this time I had moved to Minnesota, and he stays there. He had told me, he said, "Man, guess who run around the crib?" I said, "Who?" He said, "Reno and Dino." I said, "Reno and Dino? You talking about the little kid that they father will let them out the yard?" He said, "Yep." I said, "Hell no." And I went to the crib one year. We had a family reunion there, and me and my brother, we smoked a joint and shit. So we walked around the block, and they had their little what's in their house, right there on the next block. And we walked past there, and I looked, young brother, what's up, big Nate? Boom. I'm tripping, 'Cause, for one, I'm tripping how some of them got big. And another, I'm tripping that, what my boy told me was true. So, we walked back. Then when I went back home, I told him, I said, "Man, you wasn't bullshit. You wasn't bullshit." Yeah. So, yeah, man. So, hey, that life, I just figured out that life just wasn't for me. I always loved my brothers. Always brothers I grew up with, they're my brothers. You know, and they know my story. They know what's happening because they know the type of parents I have, and they knew I wasn't really about it anyway because I was more of a gym rat, but I still held my own. Uh, that's why I ignore it, FBB, because it ain't no status to prove. There ain't no status to prove. I ain't. Like he asked me what's symbol of the 5 point star. I know it. That's why I told him look on my community wall. It's on there. I ain't here for your entertainment to say it, to to prove it to you. Who's crazy? Because I grew up in the time if a person is not affiliated with um, a certain group, that you don't spit your laws to them. You don't do that. Yeah, I'll be OP. I'll be older person. I'll be that. That's what you think they did. That's cool. That's cool. It don't bother me, Stone. Because I always learn. The people talking about you, they thinking about you. Oh, shit. It don't bother me. It don't bother me. It ain't nothing but a joke, Stone. I don't take nothing serious, bro. I don't take nothing serious. Everybody having fun, bro. But we don't know each other in real life, for real. But we can all joke. It's all good. I don't. I really don't care, Stone. To be honest, I really don't care. I'll be the butt end of a joke. Pause. It's cool. It won't be the first time, and it won't be the last time. Oh no, it's all good. Yeah. Well, y'all be expecting me to pat spaz out, man. I ain't gonna talk about it. Y'all having fun. If that's what you think I am, hey, that's your opinion. But why would you complain? Oh shit. Oh, y'all funny. Y'all funny. Y'all are funny. Yeah. But y'all made my day. Y'all make me laugh, man. Y'all make me laugh. Y'all just don't know. The more shit y'all talk, that energizes me more. Man, that's some good shit there, boy. Mm. Ooh wee, that's that ooh wee. Y'all know nothing about that ooh wee. Ooh wee. Wake and bake. Yeah, well, yeah, you didn't say that. I'll wake up, do what I gotta do, and it's time to bake. Oh, shit. Oh, yeah. See, I can do that. I can do that, though. It is what it is. Well, so gonna get out of here, people. Thank everybody who came through. FYB, Stoner with his negative ass. Just a joke. Just a joke. No, I didn't go check, man, because, man, the tickets been selling out. I said, I'm wait till next year when they die down. Because it's been selling out, man. You're gonna have to treat it like we had to treat them dispensaries when they first opened them dispensaries. Yeah. Yeah, I be tripping on it, man. I'll be tripping on it. See, I don't get mad at the troll because I know they be having fun, man. So, I don't get mad at them. Let them do what they want to do to have fun, man. They like doing that shit. Hey, more power to them. Let them be great. But yeah, them tickets been sold out, man. So, but yeah, I'm gonna have to go check it out. Yep. So, all right, people. I'll holler at y'all. Like I said, I'm stay on this Nolan Wells case. See what new development comes up. Then I inform you guys. All right, till next time. God bless. Uh huh.